never said I oppose fracking. Show the tape. Put it on your website. Put it on the website.
Live from Clark Studios in Rochester, New York. Broadcasting around the world. You're listening to You Made It Political, where the voice of the keyboard warrior is finally heard and the arguments presented are put to the political test. And now, here's your host, Matt Clark.
Since 1927, Time magazine has put some of the most influential people in the world on the cover of their magazine. Anywhere from astronauts to scientists to renowned known doctors who have cured some of the most deadly diseases have gone on this cover. But it seems in the year of 2020 that we can just put anyone on the cover for doing absolutely nothing. And the trend is becoming increasingly worse every year for Time magazine. If we look back a few years ago, LeBron James was put on the cover for being the athlete of the year for shooting a basketball. Every year, Time magazine seems to get their picks worse and worse, but this year takes the cake because we now find that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, out of all the millions of healthcare providers and doctors and surgeons who have worked tirelessly to help this country navigate its way through the worst virus in history, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris now are put on the cover of Time magazine, and for reasons that blow my mind. Unbelievable. Today, we're going to head over to the Keyboard Warrior Cam and see what CNN has to say out of all media outlets in the world. I know CNN, who we're going to take a look at today, what they have to say about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden being put on the cover. It's a ridiculous move, I believe. Honestly, the world has gone a little bit mad. Let's take a look. So today, here is why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are on the cover of the magazine. You'd think it would be to cure world hunger or to actually come out with a vaccine in record-breaking time, which, by the way, Donald Trump has done with Operation Warp Speed. But nope, it's none of them. It's Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for doing what I believe absolutely nothing. So why have they gotten this prestigious award? Why have they been put on the cover? Let's listen. So they've made the cover for changing the American story, for showing that the forces of empathy are greater than the furies of division, for sharing a vision of healing in a grieving world. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are Time's 2020 Person of the Year, wrote the editor-in-chief, Edward Felsenthal. First of all, there are so many things that are wrong with the statement. For changing the American story. And I'm going to go back for a minute and discuss what was said a few weeks back by Chuck Schumacher. Chuck said, if we take Georgia, then we change the world. I'm just curious, why do the left feel that the world needs changing? What is so wrong about the world right now that we all feel needs changed? Because as far as I'm concerned, if we take a look at the last 4 years, President Trump has kept us out of war. I think that's a pretty big deal. We have not gone to war in his entire 4-year presidency. So that's a pretty huge deal. So as far as America's concerned, I think we're doing really well with that. We've also have the biggest stock market rally ever, and it keeps going higher and higher, busting through that ceiling. So as far as economically is concerned, we've seen the best stock market rally ever. So between no war, and also between Operation Warp Speed, where we've now come out with a virus in record-breaking time, which, by the way, Donald Trump has led. I don't care what anybody has to say, whether you like him or hate him. The fact of the matter is that his team has delivered a vaccine, whether you want to take it or not, has delivered that vaccine in record-breaking time. An astonishing feat out of any president in the history of the United States. So this isn't a battle between Biden and President Trump. But what I did want to point out was the fact that what change do we really need to see? Because as far as I'm concerned, the only change that I'd like to see is a stop rioting and burning down cities. That's a pretty good change I'd like to see. But that is not a change that's going to be brought by the left, because the left were the ones who backed it up and bailed out all of these protesters when they were getting thrown in jail for tearing down buildings and burning down cities. So I'm very confused as to what change exactly we're all talking about here. I'd still like to know what's wrong with America that so many people want to see this change so badly. So for changing the American story, for showing that the forces of empathy are greater than the furies of division, as far as I'm concerned, the only people or organization that is responsible for division is the left-wing media. They have buried the truth. They have covered up the real dangers that America faces today. They have done nothing but suppress the right and only told us one side of the story based on their narrative. So they are responsible for causing the pure division that America now faces. They say Trump has called division. No, Trump has only called it how he sees it. He's called out most of the politicians for the corrupt people that they really are. He's done nothing but try to drain the swamp. Well, sadly, the media is part of that swamp. So he's trying to drain them too. Naturally, that means they would be put out of business. They don't like that. They don't like their ratings being messed with. Therefore, they have had to rally together and divide this country in order to guarantee a Biden-Harris win. And that's exactly what they've done. So when I see statements like showing that the forces of empathy are greater than the furies of division, I can't help but to think that the media, particularly CNN, is solely responsible for this division. If not, or if anything, some of the left-wing politicians are also responsible for the division, because they are the ones who backed up all the protests and said nothing, causing great divide and chaos in this country. So there's so many things wrong with this statement. I think that out of all the people that it could have gotten on the cover of Time magazine this year, these are the last two people on planet Earth that should be on the cover. There's no way they should have even been on a short list, which, by the way, let's take a look at that short list right now and see who was on it and why they weren't considered or put in this place. So the short list here, let's take a look here. The short list unveiled earlier Thursday. The short list unveiled earlier Thursday was a clear reflection of the year's most dramatic events. Biden, Trump, frontline healthcare workers, and Dr. Fauci, and the movement for radical justice were all major characters. I have a few issues with this short list. First of all, people I feel should have been on the short list: Trump, for delivering Operation Warp Speed in phenomenal record-breaking times. They should have been the first one, or at least a good potential candidate. So I believe that frontline healthcare workers who have worked tirelessly, so tirelessly, to help hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Americans throughout this pandemic, regardless of what we all think about the pandemic, regardless of whether we believe this really should have been blown out of proportion, regardless of whether we take the virus seriously or not. Let's put aside our opinions and views for just a second and just focus on the fact that our healthcare workers still worked their butts off. And I can't thank you guys enough for everything you have done to help this country navigate its way through the virus. If anything, I personally think they should have 100% been on that, or at least been on the cover of the magazine. I think a team of healthcare providers should have been on that cover. I'll take Dr. Fauci any day over Joe Biden. The movement for radical justice, I'm not convinced. I don't think they should have been anywhere near that short list. That movement for radical justice was nothing but civil war. That's all that was. It was not peaceful protests. It was civil war. We can't allow American cities to start burning down our buildings, to start tearing down these cities, and then call it a radical movement. Where was the peaceful protest in any of that? Why are they on this short list? If anything, they should be on the list of criminals or most wanted for 2020. That's where I see this movement for radical justice being put on. So out of your short list, Biden, definitely not. Trump, yes. Frontline healthcare workers, yes. Dr. Fauci, yes. Movement for radical justice, absolutely not. Biden, the radical left, the radical movements should be anywhere near this short list. Let's go back to the keyboard warrior cam and see what the American people have to say about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris going on the cover of Time magazine. After all, this show is all about you, the American people. That's who we really want to listen to, the American people. Lynn says, the true heroes this year are all the doctors and nurses who have treated, held hands as patients passed away alone from COVID, which is disgusting that we made these people die alone. And I hope to God somebody gets sued for the agonizing pain that these nursing homes or our governors have put us through. It is disgusting that people, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts and uncles have deserved to be with their families at the time of their death, and they were denied that possibility. But it doesn't negate the fact that the true heroes really should be the doctors and the nurses who were there for them. Thank God. So I agree. Shame on this magazine. Shame on Time magazine. This should not have been made. This should have been about them, not political. Absolutely right. Time, you've missed this totally. I agree with Lynn. Let's take a look here. Christina, an advocate for Biden and Harris. I'm thrilled with this choice. They are out to heal our nation and bring dignity back to the White House. Again, what's with this healing? Why do we all think that there were so many problems with the nation? If anything, the fact that we haven't gone to war in 4 years alone is enough to heal the nation. All we've been trying to do is keep people from dying. Is that not healing in itself? Where exactly has America gone so wrong in the eyes of the left that we need to come together and sing Kumbaya? Because the only destruction and the only violence and the only chaos that I personally have witnessed was within the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. If anything, we need to heal from that. So no, I don't agree with the statement. I think we were just fine over the last few years. I don't know what healing anybody seems to be talking about. And Adrian, I like Adrian's reply here. Adrian replies to Christina, they haven't done anything to help this country. Zero. Why are they getting Person of the Year? And that's true. Listen, where was Time magazine throughout the entire election? Like, were they hidden under a rock or something? Time magazine, were you not there during the debates when we called out Biden for doing absolutely nothing in the last 47 years? Guys, remember, Biden and Harris collectively have put more black people in prison than any other politician in the Senate. And they are now being applauded for that. They've used Black Lives Matter movement to gain the votes. If anything, I think that's the most hypocritical use of their power I've ever seen. So I don't know exactly what they've done, because as far as I'm concerned, if you put the list of accomplishments by most presidents in just their 4 years versus the accomplishments of Biden over 47 years, you're going to find that they have a mile-long history here of great things done versus Biden's 1 or 2. So it doesn't matter what they might do or what their agenda is. The fact of the matter is they've done nothing. It's very similar to Obama getting a Nobel Peace Prize, in his first year of presidency. He hasn't done anything. You shouldn't get a Nobel Peace Prize for winning the presidency. You should get it for what you've accomplished. And I have to say, peace treaties with the Middle East. We have made peace with the Middle East. We have dismantled ISIS, Al-Qaeda. It's not even a real thing anymore. They're not even a threat to America. Not a single attack that we know of in the last 4 years. We've stayed out of war. We've made peace with the Middle East. And we brought the American people a vaccine they so desperately want in record-breaking time. Yet Biden and Harris are on the cover of Time magazine. It's mind-blowing to me. And I know Biden supporters, Biden voters, I know you're biased towards Biden, but you gotta agree with us here that this is unwarranted and unprecedented. It should not have gone down this way. And the comment from before, above, we just read, it should not have been made political. And they're absolutely right. This should not have been made political. Let's take a look at what some other of the keyboard warriors have to say about the ridiculousness of Biden and Harris going on the cover of this magazine. Scroll down here. We'll take a look at what some other keyboard warriors have to say. Both to be deserved. Let's see. Ian says both deserve to be on the cover of Time magazine. I'm so proud of both Biden and Harris, and both will definitely restore the America the way it used to be, and I really miss that. Again, what are we congratulating them for? I mean, CNN viewers, have you lost your minds? We're congratulating these two for what they say they are going to do. It's kind of like me saying, hey, if you follow my game plan, I'm going to show you how to make $1 million, and you give me an award for helping you make $1 million. Well, no, I just talked about how I'm going to help you. Doesn't mean I actually did it. So I don't think it's deserved, and I think that people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves here. I think we needed to wait a few years to see exactly what Biden and Harris plan on doing. And if we take a look at what Biden has discussed in his next 100-day plan, let's think about this for a second. All he's discussed is that we should wear masks for the next 100 days. That's not exactly award-winning game plan. We've been wearing masks for the last half a year. So to come out and say in my first 100 days, we're gonna wear masks. We're gonna wear masks every day and we're gonna beat this thing. How is that? How are we gonna beat this thing wearing masks for the next 100 days? So that makes no sense. That's not an award-winning game plan to me. Another thing he's come out and said is, well, we're gonna forgive 11 million illegal immigrants. What? We're going to forgive 11 million illegal immigrants and let them stay here in the United States? How exactly is that going to help unemployment? All I hear come out of Biden's mouth when he does eventually string a sentence together is how he's going to undo all the good that the last presidency has done. I hear things like a vaccine's coming and we're going to get you better. Well, obviously, but Biden and Harris had nothing to do with delivering the vaccine in record-breaking time. This all had to do with the Trump presidency. All I hear come out of his mouth is what he's piggybacking off of the Trump presidency. There isn't a single thing that I've heard that makes me think, you know what? Even though I didn't vote for him, it'll be interesting to see what he does here. Not a single thing. Mavis says, I can't wait to be honored as Employee of the Year before I even start my new job. Just give me the award before I prove anything. Exactly what we were just saying. You don't get Employee of the Year on your first day in a new job. It just doesn't happen. And this reminds me a lot like the whole everybody gets first place for showing up award. America, for some reason, has forgot to actually award people for doing anything. And I think this is why we are now seeing millennials and college graduates think that they deserve so much more than what they actually deserve their first day out of college. And hence the reason we now have this student loan crisis. We're now talking about waiving all these student loans. How about get your butt out there and get to work and actually pay off your student loans like every one of us has? We continue to send message after message after message that it's okay as an American to sit on your ass and do absolutely nothing. Student loan forgiveness program. Here's some more COVID socialist crack money for you to go filter through the economy that you don't deserve. Why don't you guys sit home and collect unemployment because you're scared of a virus, and we'll keep your jobs for you so when you come back after the economy's been broken and shattered, you'll get some more money. Here's some free medicine that they're now proposing, socialistic health care. What people don't realize is that all of this free stuff that we're handing out is going to come at a cost. Higher taxpayer money. There's no such thing as a free lunch, yet we're teaching our youth and we're teaching the American people that it's okay. That it's okay to not honor your loans, that it's okay to, if you can't pay it back, don't worry, because there'll be some forgiveness program that's going to come out eventually. Well, the only ones who are going to really suffer here are the taxpayers. And it's not going to be it's not going to be the elite or the rich either, because guess what? They can afford to hire accountants who are going to get them out of paying tax. It always happens that way. So we need to be very careful about going down this very dangerous path of socialism, which is what we've been brainwashed. I see it. I see American being brainwashed with this socialistic path that we're all headed down. And what I don't think people understand, because they're never told both sides of the story, that with a free lunch comes higher taxes. And we're going to see that. Let's head back to the Keyboard Warrior Cam and see what other people, if you're just joining us, have to say about the absolute ridiculousness of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris winning Time Magazine cover, which I think is just mind-blowing and baffling. Oswaldo says, oh my God, what about Dr. Fauci or the brave and priceless men and women in the front line of battle against the coronavirus? The great medical staff in every hospital. How did Biden and Harris get it over Fauci? I mean, again, whether you like him or hate him, does he not deserve it? He has done so much to help navigate. He's come out. He spoke the truth. He's even said, wait a second, kids need to be in school. We were listening to Fauci in the beginning until he started going against the governor's wishes. So what happens? Okay, Fauci, thanks. We'll take it from here. That's enough for now. Why don't you go sit in a corner, and when we need some more advice, we'll call you out. I haven't heard a peep out of Fauci since he started disagreeing with all the politicians. Remember, this was never supposed to be political, right? Well, politicians have come in, they've started locking down states, they've made it political. This is the most political BS within the healthcare system that I have ever witnessed, and probably most people on this planet have ever witnessed. This is nothing but political. They've made it political. They didn't have to start locking us down. So Fauci, yes, I believe he 100% deserves this award over everybody. I think, as much as I love Donald Trump and everything that he's done, I think the likes of Fauci, the healthcare workers, should have been on this cover. And this is a slap in the face to everybody who's worked so hard. What has Biden and Harris actually done throughout this pandemic? Nothing. He's hid in his basement. He's shown up to a rally full of 10 people and spoken for about 20 minutes. He has done nothing. Kamala Harris hasn't done a thing except for bail out rioters when they were thrown in jail, rightfully so, for burning down small businesses. So it's a little too late for these two to now come onto the scene and say, hey, let's all help these businesses. Let's all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We want peace now. No, we're going to troll you for the next 4 years. That's what we're going to do. We're going to remind you of what you put this country through leading up to the election. You've done nothing good for this country, and every good accomplishment that you potentially execute, we're going to still troll that too and remind you that you two are nothing but riot supporters, that you've done absolutely nothing. So no, they should not have been awarded this title above and beyond the likes of Fauci and the healthcare workers. Let's take a look at what a couple more people have said about the hypocrisy and the idiocy of these two Muppets making the cover of Time magazine. John says, ha ha ha, the orange stain didn't make it again. Get ready for another Twitter storm. Real funny, John. Again, I think people are so obsessed with their hatred towards Trump. Why? Because he didn't tell gay people that he loved them, although he's not against them, that he didn't go out and protest with black Americans. I mean, that's no reason to hate the guy. He was busy. He was trying to get other things done. Because he didn't come out and condemn the bad boys for trying to protect this country, or for the militia for stepping up and said, hey, we've had enough. If you guys don't sort it out, we're going to. Trump's been nothing but a patriot. He's tried to remain unbiased on a lot of these minority issues. And I guess that alone was enough for him to get crucified for not supporting either one either way. But he does deserve a lot of credit here. He has done quite a bit. If you look at all of his accomplishments, he's done more in 4 years than Biden's done in the last 47. But people like John here, they've got their CNN blinders on. They are full of hatred towards a man that they voted for, a guy with early onset Alzheimer, over somebody who could really run this country. I still don't know how Biden and Harris are going to run the country. I'll tell you why. They're not going to. They're not going to be able to run this country. They're being dictated by the likes of George Soros. Well, America, get ready, because this country is about to go right down the liberal drain, because our presidents and politicians are no longer going to have a say anymore, because they are bought out by big pharma, by big corporate, and the likes of George Soros. So, John, get ready. It's going to be a very, very rude awakening for people like you and everybody else who have supported these guys. Chris B says, shouldn't it have gone to the doctors, the nurses, and healthcare workers? There's an overwhelming amount of support here. And CNN viewers even know it. They know that this should have gone to the healthcare workers, that it should have gone to the likes of Dr. Fauci. Michelle says, for what? Why has Biden gotten this award? For what? Hiding in his basement? How about all the healthcare workers who have been dealing with this on the front lines? They deserve this. I could go on and on and on, but you're going to see comment after comment that the healthcare workers should have got this award. Of course, nobody wants to advocate for Trump because this is CNN, left-wing media outlet after all. I think if we were on Fox News, we'd at least see a little bit more support for Trump. But here we are on CNN. At least it's good to see that the CNN viewers are putting their priority on the healthcare workers and Fauci. Jane says, 45 years of politics with nothing to show for it. Not my president. Media elect. Very good point here. I like that. Media elect. If he was honest, he would support examination of voting practice. It's a great point here that this isn't the president-elect, which, by the way, he's still not the president-elect. The only elect he is the media elect, and you can call me a sore loser all you want, but all of you who are calling him the president-elect are wrong. It is 100% not true. So much so that Candace Owens actually won a legal lawsuit against the media when they called her or removed a post for her saying that he's not the president-elect. Well, they took the post down. Candace Owens lawyered up, won that case because he is officially not the president-elect. We still have the Supreme Court to get through here, and we'll see what happens when that time comes. So as of now, absolutely right. He is media elect. Trevor says, just in case anyone has forgotten how utterly idiotic Time Person of the Year is, Hitler was Time's Person of the Year in 1938, and Stalin was Time's Person of the Year twice, once in 1939 and again in 1942. You know, if anybody should have been, if we're going to kind of go with the Hitlers of the world or the dictators of the world, Cuomo should have probably been on the cover of Time magazine. That would have been a little bit more in line with what Trevor has to say here. Cuomo fits right up there with Hitler and Stalin, and if I would have understood if Cuomo made Time magazine or a cover of Time magazine for 2020, because so many dictators in the past have made the cover, but Biden isn't worthy of being on this cover. He has done nothing. At least Cuomo has done something, although done something horribly wrong that most of us are completely against. He's actually done something. So I'll put Cuomo as Dictator of the Year over Joe Biden. Let's take a look at one more keyboard warrior cam. Desiree, what a joke, and for what? Biden is a career politician that has nothing to show for his 47 years in office except making himself and his family very wealthy off of foreign governments. He didn't even bother to campaign. Come on, man. P.S. Time Magazine and CNN are trash that literally nobody takes seriously because of this type of nonsense. That's a phenomenal comment to end on. And I love that comment, Desiree. You've called it out exactly how it is. It is an absolute joke. For what? Biden hasn't done anything. Harris has done nothing. If anything, they both have The only award that either of these two should get is criminal awards for bailing out protesters and rioters and for putting more black people in prison throughout their entire career. No, they don't deserve it. Healthcare workers deserve this. Fauci should have headlined the title of Time magazine above and beyond any politician ever should have. But we can't forget also that Trump has delivered Operation Warp Speed, a vaccine in record-breaking time. So yes, he should have made the short list. That's my opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. You Made It Political today, Friday. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We've actually busted through 1,000 followers, so that's really cool. And I have all of you guys to thank for this show. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week live on You Made It Political.
Thanks for listening to You Made It Political.